are we going there, dues?
There.
You're going there? How come? And whether you're right or wrong, I'm going to ask how come. So don't read too much into it.
Oh wait, no, it's his or her, because how there is spelled, it's like going somewhere.
No, the spelling's okay.
Oh.
So like Their would be, the group of people. If it was Ere, that would be I'm headed over there. And then we would have the Y apostrophe RE if we were doing they are. Spelling's not going to be an issue though for any of these ones that we have up here.
Okay, there.
So you still want to go with there? Katie, I know your hand went up. You in agreement with it? Anyone want to arm wrestle Max over a different answer?
I dare you.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I do it?
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay, good.
Why is he right?
Because I just didn't know.
That's the correct
So we're talking about plural people here. At the beginning of the sentence, we're talking about club members, some of them, but we're still talking about multiple people, which means that it's going to be plural. In geometry and other classes, what do you have with two lines that are never going to intersect? They are always parallel. The same thing basically happens with sentences. You want them to be parallel in that if I start off that I am plural, everything else throughout that sentence is most likely going to be plural. If I start off being singular, everything else is going to be singular. With A over here where it says his or her, key word is going to be or, because that means you're talking about this one or that one. So if you see his or her, that's always going to be singular, no matter what. All right. Someone on the bus left briefcase on the seat. Is it their briefcase? Is it his or her briefcase? What do you think? Said there. Said his or her.
That's about it.
His or her.
Okay, I'm changing it.
Isn't it? What do you think, Keith? His or her. Okay.
There.
I bet you 95% of the time, anyone in this room who just said his or her, if they were to say the sentence without thinking of it in a grammatical sense, they would go with there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
In a grammatical sense, though, it's going to be his or her.
Yeah, 'cause it's more proper.
It's more correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Why? What would be like clues that you could look at that would give you a reason? Hayden, give me one.
Someone is single.
Still talking about one person, and you're absolutely right. Gia, is there another clue? Okay, I'd say there's one more. How many briefcases are we talking about? We're only talking about one. So notice we have someone, and seats also singular. Someone on the bus left his or her briefcase, singular, singular. So all of these things are singular throughout. If we were to go, people on the bus left there, and I would have to switch briefcases on the most likely seats, unless it's a really big seat that everyone left the briefcase on. So if you recognize things as being singular early on, you want to maintain that way throughout. But 95, if not 100% of the time, people are usually going to say there.
I just didn't think I had it.
When we start doing some essay things, I don't mean crushing you in the sense of you're going to be losing points left or right, but it's going to be annoying how many times I'm going to go, are you sure there is the word that you want to use, in this particular thing. Everyone who receives high marks is or are eligible for the scholarship. Everyone who receives. He said, you went R. Looks like it's going to be the first arm wrestle battle. Said is.
I said is. I said are.
Everyone is just like someone. How many people are we talking about?
Everyone.
Technically, you're only talking about one. Every individual. So if I say everyone in here take out their books, you could go, you're wrong. Because I would have to say, everyone in here take out his or her book. Because everyone, I'm still talking about an individual person, so it's going to be is. That's the word that drives people nuts.
Yeah.
And honestly, most of the time, if we say everyone, I probably said everyone take out, their packets or whatever. Max to go, excuse me, his or her packet. Then I have to say your, sorry. Apologies.
That's the word I did that.
Then I squirted them with water.
I'm not a dog.
Usually they go, I'm not a cat. So that would be at least different. How about this one? 4 is a little tricky. Either the grill crew or the manager must give his or her their permission.
His or her.
Going his or her? Austin? Okay. His or her? It is his or her. Austin, since you said it initially, any reason why?
Because like.
I'm smart.
whoever's working, it doesn't specify who it is.
Okay. What if it were like this? The grill crew.
So it'd be there.
It'd be the employer.
Actually, it would be its. So that's when even a little bit tricky.
Oh, yeah.
Because but I'm not going to worry about that part. Why? If you see the word or, okay, either the grill crew or the manager. If you see the word or, whichever subject is coming after or determines if it's singular or plural. Manager, singular. So at that point, it's going to be his or her. So if it said either the workers for the shift or the manager must give his or her permission. If it were the workers must give, at that point it would be there because you're talking about multiple workers. I'll explain grill crew why that one's singular here in a little bit. But
It doesn't look good this one. Maybe it's about-
after you answer number 5.
Okay. Thank you.
What'd you do for number 5?
I got they read.
They read? Okay, how come?
I just feel it's
And I mean, and that's not a crappy answer because generally we're pretty good at being able to figure out which one it is. You can naturally kind of start to tell. Unfortunately, it doesn't work for this one. Of course it doesn't.
Wait, why wouldn't it work? Because
What is the subject of the sentence?
My
It's the
grandmother,
grandmother.
as well as
It's-
But why is
many
it talking about
other
other
Americans.
The
Oh, wait, actually.
the official subject of the sentence, the whole thing goes around my grandmother. What this part is here, so these these commas, not apostrophes. This ends up kind of being, and don't worry about remembering, it's called an appositive phrase, it modifies it. But the grandmother is the focus of it. So who reads the National Enquirer? She does. Okay? It stays consistent with that being singular. If it were written, and I know this is going to be annoying, if it were written, my grandmother and other Americans, at that point you got a compound subject because of the word and at that point it becomes they. But because of these commas, it's setting this phrase off away from the subject, so it just stays as my grandmother. So if you were to go, I, as well as everyone else in this class, did you say I have to go to lunch or I has to go to lunch?
I have.
I have to go to lunch.
If it was-
actually, they would still be have to with that one. That's not a good example.
If it was and, it would be I.
I
They have.
and everyone else have. Well, yeah,
Has.
has. Not,
They have. They.
no, they have was a bad one for me to use because that ends up being a different one.
Everyone else can die, I will.
Run that one by me again.
But did you say like everyone, did you say I, everyone else? Would it be everyone else and
Check. Usually we go everyone else and I. You could go either way with it, but the proper, as we were talking about before, is I comes afterwards. Yeah. And then you say everyone and me, and then you get snapped with a ruler from your old mean English teacher.
It's like
Hey, my teacher didn't do that.
That's good. How about number 6?
I went to
If Walt Disney World continues to increase ticket prices, Samantha won't be able to afford a Lion King shirt.
What number are we on?
6.
I said B.
Yeah,
You went B. Katie would do
B, let's go C.
B. Went A. Cat going A. Tyler.
Is there
A.
a C option?
All right.
Let's go back, how you start.
The option is this one.
Dang.
Here's why. Walt Disney World.
I thought it would be talking about.
I was just about to say A, so I was like,
Listen to it.
It's just-
Walt Disney World, the team, the class, the cast, like if you're talking about a play, the jury, all of those entities are made up of multiple people. However, they are what is referred to as a collective noun. It is one group of people. So, if the sentence reads, if Walt Disney World continues to increase its ticket prices, Samantha won't be able to afford the Lion King shirt. If the sentence read, if the Walt Disney World employees, plural, increase at that point, because it's employees, multiple people, the pronoun switches to which one?
There.
It'll go to there.
There,
Because
okay.
if you say the employees.
Yeah.
Alright, so, the class voiced its displeasure with the quiz. The students voiced
It's.
their, because I got plural students. So even though you could be talking about the same group of people, the wording that you end up using becomes
Yeah.
important with it. So if you're talking about an individual group, it's going to be singular. I know I'm skipping. Take a look at number 8. My family looks forward to, I bet most people circled there. I bet most people would say there, because you think of it as being members of the family, but you're talking about one unit, so that one becomes its.
Yeah.
If you were to say, the people in my family, at that point you're going to go there. Alright, that's
That
the
makes
tricky
sense.
kind of weird
Makes
stuff.
sense,
Number 7. Neither Floyd the dog nor Robin's 3 cats enjoy sleeping on the hard, cold floor when they can jump onto the soft, warm bed as soon as she leaves for work. Aiden, what do you think? How come?
Because I don't think, maybe the cats are not he or the cat.
4 and 7 are similar.
Yeah, and those plural.
Nor and or, it's the same thing. Whichever one comes after it is what you go with. So, here's one that's really going to be annoying. Neither Floyd the dog nor Robin's 3 cats enjoy sleeping on the hard, cold floor when they can jump onto the soft, warm bed. If we flipped it, neither Robin's 3 cats nor Floyd the dog, that one would become he because you'd be going with Floyd. So if you have or nor, whichever one's coming after it, that's the one that you ultimately go with.
Okay.
So the correct answer for this one is B.
Yeah.
Alright. Tyler in the back, what do you think for number 9? For number 9, this one's going to be A. Why? Because the team is one collective unit. What's a word that I could replace team with that would make it there?
People.
Athletes, people, players, all of those things would switch it. So the one thing you have, not one thing, but an aspect to focus on is the wording of it as opposed to what you are visualizing, in your head. While they were watching the Battle of Bands, Mark and Pedro made bets on which musician of Nuclear Toasters would trash her or their guitar first. We can assume they're all girls.
Yeah, because Mark is a little close.
Would you
I said
say
I say A,
her is singular? What is this word over here? Musician? Singular. So the pronoun's going to be singular. We're talking about one. Also notice guitar, singular. So all those things are going to be singular in perfect parallel. Neither Jess nor Erica were able to go to the movies Saturday night.
It wasn't leaving this class.
Her. Oh wait, was.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. No.
Was.
Going was. What's the rule for nor? You take a look at whichever one is coming after one person, singular verb, was able to go to the movies. If this were written Jess and Erica, at that point, because I'd be talking about both, that one would be were. Number 12, this would be similar to the Grand Mall one with the National Enquirer. Joey, along with his two cousins, pitch or pitches for the high school baseball team.
Pitch. Because pitches doesn't make sense.
It is pitches.
It's pitches.
At this
Because-
point, I shouldn't be surprised.
Joey
if
along
I'm
with
looking
his
at
two cousins pitches for the high school baseball team.
But that doesn't even sound right.
Yeah, it does.
If the sentence were written, oops, I didn't want that.
How does that sound? So just like,
Joey, pitcher pitches for the high school team.
Pitch.
Pitches.
Joey pitches. It would be Joey pitches. So verbs, if verbs have the S on the end, that's when they're singular. It's like opposite of nouns, whereas nouns have the S, they become plural. We would say Joey pitches. Max writes. Keith studies.
I
You know,
thought it
those
would
all
be
have
like Max
those.
Red.
what the heck?
Max writes.
Wait,
You don't
not
Fritz,
even, like the cracker. Ritz.
Wait, what?
That's Ritz.
Ritz.
Bro, that's
So
good.
Max writes when he's bored. Keith listens to music when he's happy.
Max eats.
Zach yells at his
When I'm
teacher when
bored.
he's frustrated. So you got that
Yeah,
S.
that's not-
Now, you take a look at the way that this is written, like the grandmother one, the subject of the sentence is still Joey no matter what. Along with his two cousins, this is just kind of being a descriptor. If it were Joey and his two cousins, that would be pitch. But the focal point here is Joey, which is singular, so that one's going to be pitches. Pennsylvania students. Do they take or take standardized tests every year?
Take.
I don't know anymore.
They take them. Because you're talking about multiple students, so they would take it. The students, same thing in the class. Do they stand or stands every day for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Stand.
They stand. All right.
That sounds makes sense.
If it were written as the class, so Max, we took out the students in, but it literally was just the class, it would be the class stands every day for the Pledge of Allegiance. Because the class would be one thing. Mr. Kane's English class, do you understand or is it understands that Invisible Man must be read by Monday, March the 26th?
Understand.
Mr. Kane's English class understands. Singular. Alright? So it's not trying to make you feel inadequate or unintelligent about it, but it's trying to make you feel recognize and be a little bit more aware of some of what those nuances would be. Alright? This is just going to go in the assignment handout section of the notebook. You're not looking at a surprise quiz tomorrow with it or anything like that.
Understand what nuances that English is a question.
Well, what you're focusing on really is are we talking about the individuals or are we talking about the group? Like multiple people, or are we talking about a group as a collective whole? That's where a lot of the confusion ends up kind of coming from. All right, up here on the board, take a look at your figurative language sheet. I did not have number 1 on here simply because we've already talked about that one a lot. I think we're pretty clear that we know it's personification, that we know thieves is being personified, murdering city, and all that kind of stuff. So that's one that we've already talked about as we've been doing the other things. This would be the sheet that I gave you. Okay. So I'm not worried about number 1, but take a look at number 2. Bless you. Chorus. So now I remember, O healer, your power and wonder. Will you send doom like a sudden cloud, or weave it like nightfall of the past? what's the context? What's happening in the play? What's the chorus doing?
The chorus is giving their insight.
Into what?
I don't know, that's what I have.
Let's start.
Oh, insight to the sonic cloud.
To the sudden cloud?
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be more when we kind of get here into this explanation part. Like plot-wise within the play, chorus, you're absolutely right. Chorus is giving. Did you say it's insight?
There.
Okay, technically this would be kind of an example. It's insight because it's that collective group that's going on. Not that you need to change the wording of it, but the chorus is giving its insight about what? What's the concern that the chorus is providing insight for?
It's
The
a
plague of thieves. So this is happening after, this is in the Parados, so this is happening after they've heard about the priest and what Oedipus are talking about. They're giving its insight about the plague of thieves. All right, so that's at least kind of like a starting point. Couple things, not part of what you had to do here, but just a question. Who's the healer? Okay, here we're going with our God. So it's not Oedipus, but we are praying to Apollo. So you could even do, the chorus is praying to Apollo because of, the plague that is ravaging Thebes and whatnot at this point. So now remember, essentially, Apollo, your power and wonder, will you send doom like a sudden cloud, or weave it like nightfall of the past? I think you folks were recognizing I have like there, I have like there. So when it comes to figurative language, which one are we going with? We're going simile. Now, what is the simile trying to explain or communicate? And I don't want you to go,
Oh,
that a cloud's coming
I got
or
this.
nightfall. I'm going to start with Alexa, and then we'll come back to you to fill in any gaps.
I just have down the course is using like to compare things like doing the clouds or we in like nightfall.
All right. So the big thing that you're highlighting is doom is coming. They expect that this is not going to work out well. People are dying left and right. We can't grow crops. People can't have babies. Things don't look well at all. Anything you want to add to it?
Nope, she said fine.
Okay. So the question is coming, will doom arrive, what would be an ly word that I could use here? Will it arrive suddenly, quickly, anything along those lines, which would be like the cloud, or will it arrive, what's going to be the opposite of suddenly?
Late. I'm kidding.
Not so much lately. Slowly. Storm cloud, immediate. It's right there. Storm is coming. Nightfall, more gradual. Slowly, gradually, something like that.
Isn't that
Hurricane Katrina.
more like
Head up.
hurricane?
Thank you.
Tortilla.
Yeah, do you remember that volume?
All right, number 3. See how our lives, like birds take wing, like sparks that fly when a fire soars to the shore of the evening God. For time standpoint, really, what's the context?
I'm hungry.
Doesn't matter. You got 4 minutes.
Oh, I
Same
got
as
it,
two.
I got it.
Same as 2. Still praying to the gods.
Can their lives be positive instead of negative?
All right. And that is where we're going to go for this explanation down here with number 2.
Okay.
Did we circle figurative language? Austin, what'd you go?
Good symbol.
Simile, because again, we have like.
I put metaphor.
Now,
And you
yeah, because of the shore of God, metaphor would be on there as well, because there's not a legitimate shore that you're really going to be looking at. Thanks for mentioning it. So, see how lives, like birds take wing, like sparks that fly when fire soars. And Max was certainly getting to the point. Number 2, we're worried about things that are going to be happening poorly for us. What do birds tend to do?
Fly.
die.
Fly where, though? In the air.
South.
So.
You got a bird on the ground, and the bird flies, so it's going to go up. if you are roasting marshmallows for a campfire, your marshmallows are going to stay low, but the sparks, the embers, those things, you're going to see them go up high.
I just put my marshmallow.
Doom. And a lot of folks, when I was walking around yesterday, were going, doom, it kind of sounds hellish, like, they're going to be in eternal damnation. From a directional standpoint, we think of doom as going down. Here, they're talking about, well, are we going to soar? Are we going to go up? So the explanation, now there's kind of a question, or will our hopes and fortunes, what would be a word for up? Would be a verb. Rise, ascend,
Above.
raise above. We kind of go with raise with it.
Rise.
Or will our hopes? Yep, we have rise as opposed to falling. So, or will our hopes and fortune rise as opposed to falling? So the explanation, which really isn't a good sentence, but compared to number 2, where it seemed like all bad things were going to happen, here we're taking a look at maybe there's some hope that some good things will take place. Ben, for number 4, what would be like a figurative language that we have going on in this one? So Tiresias on the back.
Metaphor and personification.
I want Ben to give me something for here.
Sorry. Yeah, I had those.
Okay, which one are we going with the personification?
Your parents' curse.
All right, so personification, the parent's curse will whip you. So that's our personification. Max, you said metaphor. Where's our metaphor taking place? Because he's absolutely correct.
Out of this land someday, with only right.
The big thing here would be only night upon your precious eyes. Who is Tiresias talking to? This is talking to King Oedipus. So the explanation, context, he's talking to Oedipus, and we also know that he's accusing him, at least of having something to do with Laius' death. The explanation, your parents' curse will punish you, and if night's upon your precious eyes, essentially what does that mean? Or, Nick, or blind. Last one I think was probably the trickiest one. With the peak of snow, flashes and blinds, that secret man. Really, for this one, you could find any and all of them. We're going in there. The main thing that we're taking a look at is you have the chorus. At this point, it's after all this stuff has unfolded, after Tiresias is talking to Oedipus. The main explanation is we will do whatever is necessary to try and find this man. So he's going to be like a ravaged bull that's going through the woods and whatnot. He will be hunted, he will be sought after, he will be found, pretty much no matter what is the determination that we have. Tomorrow, very first thing is going to be vocab list number 2, and then you'll be shifting gears when we go and seem to get that vocab list. No homework on Monday. We'll probably get that a couple of So, this is eating prep. We can still do last Friday, which was the first day we took black vocab. We did that on Google Classroom. So you can still complete it. You don't have to be like in here in class to do it. Is that something you're ready to do today, or is that going to be something more like weekend? Okay. So what I'll do, it's like not available for you now. Over the weekend, I'll make it available. I can show you even tomorrow, like we're on your iPad. It'll be Google Classroom. The other thing that is in Google Classroom, and you submitted yours, so
Yeah.
I did get yours for
Okay,
this.
cool.
They have got questions, 1 to 7 here, and then 8 to 16 on the back. These all are coming from Oedipus. They're tricky questions. You need to have your packet with you when you're trying to get answers. You're looking stuff up. But I want want you to mark them on this piece of paper, and then on Google Classroom, and I can show you tomorrow if you can't find it. Under Oedipus, it'll say practice keystone questions. It'll open up a Google form that's going to have these same questions. But if you start it on a Google form and then you close out, all your answers go away. So do them all on here, and then when you're ready, just submit it to that Google form. But that's stuff that I can do for you. You take care of that stuff. Okay. So this would apply to you too. The thing that we were just doing, I gave you the following along with both of you being out for extended amount of time, I think it's better that you just don't worry about it. So you're not gaining points, but you're not losing
Yeah, that's
for it. So you're not getting punished, and I know you got stuck with other classes.
alright.
So just don't worry about that one. Vocab quiz, and then also makeup quiz.
Yeah.
Go right now.
You want to be free tomorrow?
Yeah.
You want to do it tomorrow?
Yeah, you're gonna be here tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be here tomorrow. I'll be here tomorrow.
How about this? For your vocab quiz,
Okay.
I'm going to make it available on Google Classroom for you. It's going to be right at the top. All right, it'll just say vocab quiz #1, and you can take it tonight at home.
No notes, right?
No notes.
Okay.
First
Yeah,
question
I
on
can-
there is,
I can-
I'm doing this on my own, so
Yeah.
I trust you that you'll just
Yeah,
be
I
doing it
won't.
on your own. Yeah. So it'll be, when you go to that classwork
Yeah,
page,
no, yeah,
it'll be
totally.
right at the very top.
Alright, thank you. And
Okay.
I won't use my notes. You don't have to worry about
No,
anything
I
like
trust
you
you.
told me that. Thank you so
Yep.
much. I'll be here tomorrow. We'll be all good.
Okay, it'll be after
Yeah, after
this
break
time.
Yep.